Love between humans is just not easy. And without great examples or education about emotions, communication, sex, and what keeps love alive, it's too easy to be disheartened, settle, or give up on what you want most. I believe you can have the love and intimacy you want. And having coached thousands of people on their love lives for over 20 years, I know what love can be for you. So I'm bringing you people who share vulnerably about their dating and relationship struggles and how they learn to create the most connected, fulfilling, and exciting love and sex of their lives, so you can have it too. If you haven't yet taken the quiz to see what keeps you from having the best love and sex of your life, go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz. You'll get a personalized report of your strengths and challenges in the 5 crucial areas that lead to your most fulfilling and exciting love and sex life. Go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz to find out. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Man Alive. I'm your host, Shana James, and I'm thrilled to be here today to talk about being a hero and whether or not you're addicted to being a hero without knowing it, and the impact on your life, and how we would think that being a hero in this world would create more success. But it often comes with a very high cost. And we have an amazing man here today, Brent Perkins, to talk about this. Welcome, Brent. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm honored to be here. Thanks, Shana.
Yeah. So Brent sat in the CEO role for 10 years and traveled the world and, did all kinds of amazing things. And so he has a vantage point that is big. He's now a leadership interventionist and the director of, the director of leadership at Front Row Dads, and a board member, founder of 3X Bold. And also you wrote a book called Paper Cuts, The Art of Self-Delusion, which I imagine ties in with the hero addiction, but you can tell us more about that too. So let's start with, what is a leadership interventionist?
That's a good question. Maybe we should chat GPT this thing. What I found is that I'm not a coach. I'm not a strategist. I'm not an executive advisor. And yet I step into the role of all these things. And more than anything, especially through the work I've done at Front Row Dads, which is such a beautiful organization for men to check out. If you're a dad, I encourage it, is holding people accountable, learning to be kind, not nice. And part of that is showing up in a grounded, centered way that's loving, but authentic and real.
And you do this for leaders to support them, I would imagine, to not only be more successful, but to not have to give up themselves and, their lives.
Leaders either have nobody that talks to them this way, or they have people that typically kind of shame them, or sometimes even gaslight them, because that's what it takes to climb the ladder, and how they talk to each other in a ruffled way. It's rare that it's straightforward and honest and thoughtful.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you are there for them. And I would imagine you've had your struggles. So as we start diving into the hero addiction and whether people are addicted, or the word that just came up is like that, this hero complex, right? So maybe first you can help us understand, what do you think of as a hero? How are you viewing this?
Yeah. I think there's a psychologically tighter definition around hero complex. So I'm going to stay away from that specifically, okay. But this phrasing, the hero addiction, you're kind of giving away, which is fine, the book I'm writing right now called The Hero Addiction,
okay,
which is really meant to be provocative, because honestly, most people I talk to are like, I'm not a hero, and they don't resonate with it
that way. Yeah.
They don't identify that way. Yeah. And once we start going into it and realize that, hey, it's a fun title. What we're really talking about is that you're the one. So what does it mean to be the one? It means that you step in before they fail. You fix it before they try. You hold it so they don't have to. We're the ones who are up at midnight entering emails or rescheduling things or stepping in and fixing the issues that didn't get solved. We're trying to carry some emotional weight for our kids or our family members because we're afraid they can't handle it. Right.
Which is so funny. As I hear you saying all this, I'm like, oh, right. that's just, what we do as humans, because I'm,
and there's nothing wrong with any of this per se.
Right.
But when we're the one
Yeah.
for everybody but ourselves, it starts to become self-abandonment, which is a really slippery slope into a very negative place.
Yeah. What's been your experience with that?
That most of us that are high performers and show up as people who care in this world and do great things are somewhere on this spectrum in the unhealthy side of it.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a judgment. That's just to say, hey, let's be real about where we're at.
Yeah.
And do we start?
Yeah. Would you be willing to say, like, how do you self-abandon?
I'm such a overfunctioner by nature. So I'm not amazing at anything, but I'm pretty darn good at a lot of things. So I can figure things out. I can step in. I can get it done. I can solve problems. And I can get in this pattern where it's just like, it's easier, it's faster, I'm in the rhythm, let me just get it done.
I'll just do it myself.
At work or for my kids or for, my partner. And I have to slow down and say, they can handle it. They got it.
Okay. So what are some other ways that men who are listening might start to see, oh shit, I'm doing this too?
It happens a lot with men who are providers. There's a different conversation with your kids and your partner than there is with people at work, especially if you're in a leadership position. Your family doesn't respond to you in the same way. They don't, maybe this is an extreme, but bow down at your feet and make sure you get yeses, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to push back. And that's natural, that's normal, but it doesn't always feel good. Mm-hmm. And so, I say that because that's not specifically hero pattern or the one behavior. But what it does is it causes a lot of men, just 'cause I did this too, to retreat, to be a little more reclusive in terms of finding value in our job, and in what we do. And then we start to become the one at work. And we really start to let what we do define who we are.
Got it. Okay. So a man comes home from work and isn't feeling that maybe instant yes or respect, or of course I'll do what you want me to do from the family, because kids don't do that. Often partners don't do that. We want partners to be, who they are. We don't want someone to just go along with something while at the same time that would sometimes be nice, right? Then we wouldn't actually have another person to relate to. Yeah. So then you're saying the hero addiction can become stronger at work because you're getting maybe some of those accolades there.
Yep. And then it builds resentment in other places. Uh-huh. And even when we do get it, right, it still ultimately builds resentment, because whether we admit it to ourselves or not, we almost never get the feedback, the responses, the quote respect that we expect in our heads. And so little like granules of sand of resentment just slowly build over time. Every single time you step in, you handle, you solve, you carry, you fix.
Okay. So you're solving, carrying, stepping in, fixing. And then again, if we're trying to make this clearer for men who are listening, am I doing this? What are they feeling or seeing happening around them?
What I've seen in myself and the couple of hundred other men that I've done some leadership training work with is the more you do it, the more you empty the dishwasher, the more you do something for your kids, the more you do it at work, it feels like you're owed something back, or that eventually it will get better. And what's happening is that we're stealing capacity, we're stealing growth from those we're doing it for. So it's actually making it worse. The more we do, the worse it gets.
Got it. Okay. So it seems like there's two separate pieces here. One is let me think of how to say this. On the one side, we're stealing capacity from others, which could be sort of invisible for a while. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, there's what's happening internally is the resentment or the frustration Is it a sense of like, God, I have to do it all kind of resentment?
It's a little different for everybody, but I mean, for me, it was.
Okay.
For me, it got to a point, and I say that other piece because that external piece you spoke to first, is what isn't really visible to most of us until we really pay attention to it. That the reason it's getting worse, the reason we now feel like, yes, I have to do it all, or what is wrong with people? They don't respect me. I do all this work. I make this money. I show up. I'm here. What do they want from me? Right? Like these things that are just bubbling up inside. It's happening because the more they step in or the one for somebody else, the less that person has to carry, has to show up, is able to, because they've never had to learn to.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just snowballs.
Okay. So I'm starting to get a sense that, like you said, people don't necessarily know, oh, I'm addicted to being a hero. And that actually one of the telltale signs could be irritation, frustration, a sense that people are not as good as you are in a way, right? Like there could be some arrogance there and a sense of right? Like I can do this better. So why not just do it? But then the resentment can build.
You said it perfectly. Yeah. That's exactly what ends up happening.
Okay. Before we go into how to deal with that or how to overcome that, is there anything else that you're seeing that you want to make clear?
I just want to call out the paradox here. I wouldn't say we're addicted to being heroes. I'd say we're addicted to being needed, which gets into codependency conversations, which nobody wants to have, but they're real. But the paradox here is that the more you're the one for other people, however that looks for you, right?
Yeah.
Whatever archetype you're kind of living it through, the less you're the one for yourself, which means the more you do it for other people, the more you self-abandon.
Yeah.
And we step into this place of true performing. So we are selfless, but we're doing it from this place of depletion.
Right. Okay. So in addition to the irritation or the sense of why aren't people doing things as good as I can do them, there could also be depletion, burnout, a feeling of like, life just isn't as vital or exciting as it used to be.
Yeah. And I don't have time for it because, I'm doing all this for all the things in my life.
Okay. So when someone comes to you and you together realize, oh, you have this addiction to being a hero or addiction to being needed, how do you support them to make some changes?
You have to be able to see it. And so one of the things I do to help is I've got a quadrant graph that we look at, which really surprises people, and they plot themselves just off of two questions. How do you show up? How does what you are, who you are at work and at home in terms of what you do, is it selfish or selfless? And I think most people usually end up pushing themselves into the selfless side of things.
Interesting.
Because especially in these patterns, most of what they're doing is for other people.
Right.
Even if you're working long hours, they're doing it for the sake of their family.
Right.
At least that's what they tell themselves. Right?
No, that makes total sense, right? Like the selflessness of, especially if you're on a team or you're running a business or you're needing to get things done, not because it makes you happy, but because there's a bottom line or people are depending on you.
Yeah. And to be honest, a lot of people are scared of what comes with the selfish moniker, which is being a narcissist, right? That's the the ugly side, the dark side of selfishness. Yeah. But there's a really, really ugly side of selflessness. Martyrdom. Most of us who live in, the extreme of selflessness don't see that we're actually being martyrs, which victimhood comes with this, right? Yeah. We don't see it. That's just one dimension though. The other dimension to this, well, there's more than one, but the other big one is what I plot on the y-axis. So the horizontal up and down axis, which is who are you being while what are you doing? Right. So on this being axis, let me back up. If the doing axis of selfish to selfless is our output
Yep.
into the world. The being axis is our input into us while we're doing, right? So at the bottom of this is self-poor. At the top is self-rich. So depletion and abundance.
Got it.
And what I find is that most of us, most leaders, parents, high performers end up being heavy into the selfless piece.
Self-poor.
And so that's why that quadrant down there is the performing quadrant.
Interesting.
And the more we perform, the more it does lead to burnout.
Yes.
Because you're depleted while you're giving.
Yeah. Part of me is like, is there really any other way? Like in this day and age, with all the things we have going on in the world and our kids and our businesses and like, is it possible?
It is. And sometimes it's really hard to see that it's possible. I just had this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who is so deep into this. And it brought him to tears just thinking about like what would happen if he stopped doing as much as he's doing.
Yeah.
And yet he knows it's killing him.
Yeah.
Right. The flip side of this is the upper right-hand quadrant. So if we want to stay in the selfless place, right? I mean, being a servant leader, I think is maybe altruistic for a lot of people. Yeah. But it's misunderstood because it's not actually giving. Like I think giving is below the line. So when people say I'm a giver, to me, I see that as, okay, so I go to Goodwill and clean out my closets and give my old clothes away too. But I didn't ask who wants it, who needs it. Some people might. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But am I actually being additive at home, in my community, in my family, at
So you're
work?
making a distinction between giving
and what's above the line is contributing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this upper quadrant, so if the bottom quadrant is performing, the upper quadrant is leading. Yeah. And leading is where we learn to contribute, not give. Because giving is done mindlessly and we don't know the outcome of it. Contributing means we're paying attention and we have something of value to add. And sometimes it's just listening, showing up, our presence, our energy.
Yeah, that's really powerful. That distinction between leading and performing and giving versus contributing. I mean, especially giving versus contributing, it's very easy to say, well, what else could I do? If I want to be maybe not totally selfless, but if I want to be a servant leader, if I want to be of service, how do I not give? And the subtlety in there of, okay, if you're just giving without really a sense of what the impact would be or how it flows with your own life and your own resources and all of that, right? That's a recipe for disaster.
So there's a old adage for parents anyways, that when you're trying to get your kids to understand something, that lessons are caught, not taught, right? Yeah. So if you're teaching lessons, you're down in this performing, giving quadrant. If you're modeling, then you're in this leading and contributing quadrant. And the only way to do that is to actually be self-rich, be abundant in terms of what you give to yourself, right?
God, I'm just thinking of the parenting thing and how there are moments where it just feels like I'm letting my kid down if I don't teach this lesson or if I don't, right? If I don't help her understand this thing. And like you just said, I mean, it's so rare that I ever go to try to teach something and have it actually be absorbed in that way. But it's hard to watch whether it's kids or others walk around and do things in the world that you can see might create pain or suffering or struggle for themselves and let it happen. And yet, if we don't let it happen, how are they going to learn? Especially with our kids.
100%. This is why I believe it's so important to create a sandbox for our kids to fall off the slide on into. Yeah. And I'll put a Band-Aid on a scratched knee. Yeah. Maybe I'll have to go fix a broken arm, but you're probably not going to die.
Right. Okay. So trying to be the one for others and self-abandoning.
Well, there's one other interesting point here I want to notate, which is if giving is below the line and contributing is above the line, right?
Yeah.
Giving and contributing, I think we forget that they're only 50% of the equation, right?
Okay.
And it's like a coin, right? One side is giving, the other side is, I believe, taking.
Okay.
So taking is below the line.
Taking versus receiving.
Yes. So receiving is above the line.
Okay.
Right? So the opposite of giving in this equation is taking. The opposite of contributing is receiving. And this is why when we give, we are so afraid of the other side of it, which isn't to receive, it's to take. Right?
That's beautiful.
But when we contribute, it's a lot easier to also receive. And you have to do both. Otherwise, you're stealing the ability of somebody else to contribute.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
You're taking that from them.
Yeah.
Because they can't do it unless you finish the equation.
I really like this because most men I work with have a hard time receiving. I would say most people I work with have a hard time receiving, but if we're putting it in terms of men, there's a very specific, when I give men acknowledgments or when we look at something they've done well, we often have to pause. I often pause, right? And I'm like, did you hear me? Yeah. Did that get in? Are you, where did that go? And it's been profound for many of the men I've worked with to actually take something in and actually shift their sense of self because they allow themselves to receive.
And this goes back to what do we want to model for our kids, right? How will your kids ever know how to step into that contributing, or we'll just call it giving place, in a healthy place, if we're never able to receive from them ever?
I had a moment with my daughter this morning where she appreciated me for driving her to school. Yesterday, she realized she's going to a new school and she was like, this is going to be 2 hours of driving for you today. And I was like, yep. She was like, thank you. And she thanked me again today. And I was like, wow, okay, something's happening. Something's happening if she's actually thanking me for this thing that parenting can be so thankless. Right. And I do think that as we're modeling, thanking our kids, appreciating them, repairing when things go wrong, like not expecting ourselves to be perfect parents, but actually modeling, how do we do this consciously together? I know in my family, we can see if this is a side note, people thought I was ridiculous. They're like, why are you appreciating your husband for doing this thing that they should just already do? And I'm like, well, if we see it like that, then who's going to want to actually contribute to us, first of all? And second of all, right, what am I then modeling for my kid? This sense of expectation. And
this will potentially open up a bigger conversation. So I just want to put a pin in this. Okay. Whether it's for a different, future conversation or just for people to explore on their own. But the earliest work I did on this about a decade ago was with a lady named Christine Hassler. She's amazing at this work. But the biggest lesson I learned in my life, and I share this with a lot of people in my own work because it's hard, is that looking at your life through the lens of expectations versus agreements and how we show up almost everywhere. Yeah. Not only, especially with our kids, our partners, and our coworkers, but getting a coffee at Starbucks. What's it going to smell like in there? How are they going to respond to me? Did they write my name down right? Did they call it loud enough? Like, we have expectations everywhere for everything. And we rarely make agreements. Yeah. They don't have to be contracts like written down. Yeah. But what agreements do is they allow two people to come to the table and say, hey, I have expectations. And I know that's not fair, but they're just thoughts and ideas I have. Yeah. And blend them together and come up with an agreement that's middle ground. Right?
Yes. Speaking my language.
Here's the second coolest thing about this, right? Besides having a great conversation, which I know communication is where your genius lies. It removes and this is probably the most important piece, it removes that an expectation is so personal. Like, if you violate my expectation, don't meet it, break it, whatever, I'm angry. I'm like, what is your problem? And you get mad. Yeah. When an agreement gets broken, it's this third-partied, thing out here between the two of us. And when I just go, oh, that's weird. I thought we had an agreement. And we can have a conversation about this inanimate, object out there. And it's so different. It changes the way your nervous system shows up, your energy.
Yeah. And there's much more curiosity versus this is how it's supposed to go. This is what there's a demand that happens, which pretty immediately in my world shuts people down when that happens. Okay. I like this zigzag track of, as we get into, because I think as we get into self-abandonment and people checking in to see, do I have an addiction to being a hero, or do I have an addiction to being needed, or how am I showing up in my life? Can I show up in a way that is simultaneously honoring or sovereign, right, for myself, and, as you've distinguished, contributing to others rather than giving to others or taking away from their lessons and what they're here to learn?
Yeah. So the journey to get here requires going into this other side of the spectrum we haven't really talked about. We've been talking about the upper and lower side of the selfless side of things. Yeah. But what lives on the selfish side? I think the important one is what's above the line, meaning when you're self-rich, when you're abundant and you're selfish. Mm-hmm. It's this developing quadrant. It's where we build capacity because most of us are out of capacity in this world, right? So that's where my work lies, is sitting here in this awareness, understanding where you're at, and that to get to this place of leading and contributing, you've got to build capacity. That is
capacity for what?
The capacity for energy, for attention, and for presence. Those are the three pieces of capacity that I see. We're trying to do it for time and money, but those are spin-offs that come once we build true capacity. Yeah. To be able to pause, to respond and not react, to understand that what most people are dealing with and how they're interpreting life, which now ties into the first book I wrote, The Art of Self-Delusion, that's about them. Mm-hmm. They're projecting and spewing onto you their own issues and challenges, right? So to have the capacity to take a pause, to let it just roll off your back and deflect it, and to step into situations with full attention. I call it connected detachment. It's where you are so connected with whoever you're talking to or the situation or the project you're working on, but you are detached from the outcome, from expectations, from what shows up, right? So we have to let go of control, but we are plugged in. These are parts of how we build capacity that changes the way we show up in this world.
I love that. I have a course that I teach for men that's called Effortless. It's around creating effortless affection, connection, and sex. And one of the first modules is all about attention. Right? It's like if you're either mastering your attention, or maybe that's not the best word to use anymore, but you're either at the helm, right? Choosing where your attention goes, or you're being, especially these days, whipped around by every single thing that's coming into our awareness, which these days is too much, too fast, too often, right?
Yeah. There's a chapter in the book Paper Cuts around attention, but I called it the intent to be intentional. So your attention is at a whole nother level.
Okay. Anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Just to tie it together for people. We've talked about being selfless, but below the line, which is performing, and that we want to get to this place above the line where we're leading and we're contributing, and we've got to build capacity to get there. And so I call this journey going from hero, which is this performing quadrant, back to human, which is the upper right-hand quadrant. Yeah. So I take people through this hero to human journey. And that's where the Hero Addiction book title is coming from, and what is going to ultimately walk people through this journey of how to just step back into being human, which I love what you said a minute ago. It's actually effortless. Because we can stop performing, wearing masks, pretending, dancing, and just being.
Yeah. Thank you. I think many, many, many people need this. And I can feel for myself where there's some fear that comes in, like, oh no, I'm going to disappoint people, or I'm not going to make enough money, or any of those things. And I love that you're walking people through those fears, because on our own, it's very easy to stop there and not see other possibilities. And with your view and your experience and your listening, right, you open up new possibilities that we can't even see for ourselves.
Yeah. Yes. And the possibility that it's actually not as hard as a lot of us, me included, make it out to be, right?
Yeah.
Because what's crazy is when we give ourselves permission and we don't self-abandon the world, ourselves, our kids, our partners, they just want us. It's actually not hard.
So good. Where can people find more of you?
Yeah, all my work is easily found on my website, 3xbold.com. So whether you want to explore Front Row Dads or some of the books I've written or this Hero to Human journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for going through a life and distilling, right, these new possibilities and ways that people can lead without self-sacrificing, self-abandoning, because then we don't get to have the rest of it, right? We don't even get to have any of it if we're honest. Success doesn't feel amazing if we're not there to receive it, or if we're so exhausted and so burnt out that, right, there's no way to celebrate or live that life. So thank you so much.
Yeah. I mean, until the last, call it 50 years, we've just never had access to be able to help out and do all the things we can do today. And it leaves us all under-resourced.
Yeah.
And we weren't built to be that way.
Yeah.
And just want to, my ultimate goal is to give people permission to step into resourcing yourself, because that's how we were built.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Practicing Love. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and gained insight into yourself and your current and past relationships and inspiration for what's possible. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe and write a quick review to help people find us. If you'd like more support in your love life, be sure to get your free copy of my best-selling book, Honest Sex, at shanajamescoaching.com/free. That's shanajamescoaching.com/free. And we'll see you next time.